in the air. In grand time. Yes, it's true. There's so much to see and do in Renton. Alive with excitement. People are calling it the Battle of the South. Come see it all. In Renton. In Renton. In Renton.
Welcome to MOHAI and the almost live presentation, the opening of our exhibit. Everybody excited? Since you don't have a teleprompter, and as you know, old people need teleprompters, write down what I said. We've come here to celebrate all of our connections to this fun, strange, and very, very Seattle thing called Almost Live. Almost Live almost went under many times, many times. We made it through a few years of getting hammered by Star Trek reruns and Can SRAM. Then, when Ross surprised King TV and left to take over for Joan Rivers, would the show end there? Or would it go on? It went on. When we crashed the Space Needle. I thought, well, that's it. And as a personal aside, I thought, well, that's a pretty punk way to go out. So, anyway, when we crashed the Space Needle, I thought, well, that's it. But it wasn't. We touched a few other third rails that would have been the end of other shows. But when we were nervous about losing our jobs, we always felt the support from Seattle. The people of Seattle. And so did our bosses. So the show was kept on the air, and it kept upping its game. We stopped filming in 1999, but it played for 30 more years. But during that time, I can remember sitting on my couch and watching the Academy Awards and hearing Robert De Niro go, and for Best Screenplay, Bob Nelson. There were some brilliant shows by Joel McHale. also done some questionable game shows. Anyway, and anywhere in the world, if you go with Bill Nye, if you go anywhere in the world, people will say Bill, or in China, beer. We actually saw the Chinese version of this open, and it goes, beer, 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 beer. Beer, all right. One of my favorite moments was when I had to go to New York for meetings, when the show made it to Comedy Central. Walking through Manhattan, people would stop me and say, hey, you're on that show. I'd go, yeah. And they'd go, what is ballad? That's a very tough one to explain. And now, I would like to bring on another cast member who was able to follow her dream from Art Zone. Please welcome Nancy Guppy.
Or 3 hours, we shall see. So each of us up here, along with a few folks who aren't here, have chosen a favorite sketch to show you. And by the way, it is sketch, it is not sketch, just FYI. Now, we also have 3 highlight reels of a few memorable moments from Almost Life's 50-year history, put together by the fabulous Ralph Bevins and those dads. And those of you showing up throughout the evening, we're going to end our time with an audience Q&A. Hopefully you had a chance to write down and submit your burning questions. And there's there's a sign up there, Q&A. Can they still sign? They can still put it in. Oh, they can still write a question, burning question. You can still submit that. Finally, maybe most important, the bar will remain open until 8 and only 8. Right? So my mom and her friend Diana are here. You guys need a glass of wine? My mom, if you let me know if you need a glass of wine, anyone can get it for you. And the museum will be kicking all of us out of the door by 10 p.m. sharp. So we've got a lot of ground to cover, a lot of fun ground. So back to Mr. Johnny Cat.
All right. The first person I'm going to bring up is the very first host of Almost Live. And this show could not have been done without this man. It would have been impossible. All the stuff that came after the very first show, you can lay the responsibility and the blame sometimes to Ross. Ross and I knew each other from the comedy clubs, but we knew each other in a way that would be like, hey. Hey. And so, when I came onto the show with the encouragement of other people that came, and tried to sort of do some stuff, they were kind of like, well, I don't really know if this really works. But as I began to do more stuff for the show, what I realized is that there was a tremendous value in Ross having a background in sports, in competitive sports. He played at college level football. He was a middle linebacker, as I remember, which they say is the scariest position. Those are the guys that you want to send behind lines. Anyway, what I discovered about Ross is once he proves that you can do the job, he gets behind you 100%. And we needed somebody strong and stable like that. And in the beginning of the show, we were just trying to think of anything we could to get some eyeballs on it. And Ross, I'd love you to come up and explain what we did.
Sure. So for all of us, we were not prepared to have anybody know what we looked like or who we were. But when Almost Live started taking off, we would get recognized in odd place. And so I was traveling, and people at the airport would say, hey, you're on almost live. Right? Yeah. How'd you get a show? And I'll tell you how I got that show, because we did start out as stand-up comedy, and I happened to win this international comedy competition in Seattle. And another thing where I'm traveling and I'm doing comedy guest spots on TV. And I go to Vancouver, British Columbia, to do Alan Thicke's talk show. He was the Johnny Carson of Canada. And so the word came out that Bob Jones, who's program director at King, and my good friend Pat Cashman were looking at my tape from that show, and Pat saying, hey Bob, he doesn't get too flustered when he's bombing. And they called me in to kind of have a conversation, and it went well enough that we got a pilot. And that was a very exciting thing, but we didn't think it would ever go anywhere. So we did the show. And after the first episode, it's terrible. It's just, we did, it was, in fact, the Seattle Times gave a little review calling us almost dead. Which was just, that was demoralizing. But then we got to call the people, they wanted to do 13 episodes. So we do about 13 episodes, and we're scrambling. We don't know what to put on the air. Like John said, we're getting an idea that Guardian Anglers, that would be a thing. People fishing for crime. I had an idea that I'm going to be yuppieing with Todd. I drive around in a car and do Todd things, whatever that is. And then we interview her. At the end of the first season, I didn't think we'd ever get renewed. And my agent at the time was certain we wouldn't get renewed. So I'm back on the road doing stand-up. On the second season, we're thinking, we gotta do something. We gotta get some. They're gonna kids not gonna help us out. They're not gonna do commercials or promos for us. And so we started brainstorming. Now, I'm gonna take you back just about 7 years before I got a comedy or into television. I was this young guy buying little businesses out of bankruptcy at the moment. You get it for nothing. And so I got the stereo store and it sounds okay. Because I wanted to manage people's expectations. Terrible music was. But it wasn't making enough money. So I had this idea, well, maybe it should just be a stereo store. So I also combined a stereo and pet shop. And called it Woofers and Tweeters. And it took off. And then I just did more kind of promotional things like, oh, guess people are coming in, we'll have an extra drag race. So let's just and it really built up. So now I'm thinking when we have Almost Live, we gotta do a publicity stuff. There's gotta be something we can do. We tried a lot of things. We tried to reunite Sonny and Cher. Cher hated him. It was never gonna happen. There were other things that we tried to do. National Dog America. Nothing worked. And then Jim Sharp, who's not here tonight, is a quiet genius in this group, who came up with the name Almost Live, said, well, maybe we should change something. Because people are politically, they don't like anything like this. Maybe we should change something in government. But we don't know anything about that. But his idea was, let's change the state song. Oh, okay. Well, we got to research it, and there was already a state song by a woman in Spokane, a 76-year-old, Helen Davis, and wrote a song called "Once You've Been My Home, Wherever You May Roam." It was the worst song ever. So that's easy pickings. Let's go for it. Jim came up with Louie.
Well, we expected about 200, actually. Take a look at how many were really there. To our surprise and amazement, over 5,000 people showed up at the state capitol to celebrate this momentous occasion. To include Louie regalia. Even Governor Gardner rose to the spirit of the occasion.
I intend to get even with Roger.
Finally, Thurston County Commissioner George Barner and his band, the original trendsetters, put some dignity into the event. Soon they were joined by the Whalers, the Kingsmen, all revered in the Raiders who made a special trip from LA to be a part of this happening. everyone. And I was filled with pride to be a part of the American system. For even a little guy has the freedom to make his voice heard. I brought some sweatshirts here. Look at those sweatshirts. We wear these. Yeah. So you would wear those proudly. I should. One for you too.
Oh, this is going to be yours. That's that or an event spread. Thank you very much.
So here's the question. Whatever goes viral is entirely up to you. There's nobody that can ever say, oh, you're going to make some viral campaign. That's all up to how it's just up. And because of this, Louie was in the press 256 straight days. We nationally, it was that show, it was other shows. John and I were out pitching and doing speaking events to build this thing up. We were a Dubious Achievement Award in Esquire magazine. but what really kicked Almost Live up a complete notch was the advertisers, the beer advertisers came out of the woodwork. Car advertisers. We were flooded with people who wanted to advertise our show, and the program director says, yeah, we'd like to accommodate them, so we're going to have to go from 30 minutes to an hour. And after an hour, that was where this kind of a launching pad really got us in the public mind. So thank you all for pitching in and being part of that.
And now we're going to go through our favorite sketches, or the ones that we picked to show you. I had a lot that I really enjoyed.
First.
Okay. Anyway, I learned the language of film from a photographer named Mike Boyston, who was on the show. And and he said, hey, you got to go see the sequel to Alien. Is Aliens. This guy's a genius. This director went and saw it, and James Cameron's version, and it was very different. Just everything was moving, a lot of kind of stuff, and we said, I think let's try to do something like that. And so it was the very first time that we did kind of like a mini movie, I believe. I think it was. It was one of the first times. But this one, without me knowing, it got sent to the big TV convention for what was called the Iris Awards, which were for local television, the best in the country. And this one won the Iris Award, and I was given it by Oprah Winfrey, who was just a brand new person. They had her host the events, so I was handed that. Congratulations, and we went back to the French Quarter and practiced a lot of stuff. And so, this is that piece, Alien Gummies.
First, there was Alien. Then, Aliens. Now, the most horrifying event in motion picture history. Alien Gummies. Alien gummies, guts, goo, and a whole bunch of guns.
and Wilson got in trouble. Now Nancy's going to introduce her.
All righty. I have 4 things to say in 2 minutes. Almost Live was the best job ever, and I've had everything to do with the people involved. Starting with host John Creisler and executive producer Bill Staten. These guys wanted us to do good work. It was never about him and their ego. We wouldn't always hit the mark, but they wanted to do the best show possible. Lord knows I didn't always hit the mark, but we were encouraged to swing for the fences. Equally important were the people behind the cameras, and we had 3 of the best. Mike Boyson, Daryl Citro, also known as Billy Kwan, and the aforementioned Ralph Devins, a.k.a. Jet Guy. These 3 were technical pros with great comedic minds who would take an idea that was funny on paper, visually bring it to life, and always made it funnier. Now, this is also true when we shot the show in front of a live audience. How many here went to a live taping? Yeah, great. Yeah. We had an excellent in-studio crew led by our intrepid director, cast member Steve Wilson. Technically proficient with superb comedic timing. Steve knew how to capture the comedy, and he did so every single week. Last but certainly not least, a highlight of my years on Almost Live was working with the marvelous Tracy Conway. Tracy and I share a similar sense of humor. We were not afraid to look like idiots, and still are not. And it was a joy to write and perform together. So, this sketch that we're going to show you, one of our favorites, is called New Boyfriend. And it features Tracy, myself, and the inimitable Bob Nelson. Roll tape. Hey, Pam! Hi, how are you? Good to see you. You look great. Cute. Well, here he is.
So this is Alan.
Okay, before you say anything at all, his hair is going to be totally different. This is way too 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of away from his face. Maybe a little longer back thing. And of course, we use frames. I mean, something that doesn't make him look like such a turtle. But not too John Lennon.
No, that wouldn't fit his face at all.
No, yeah. Okay, clothes.
Obviously not these.
I'll give you Gap. White t-shirt or white Oxford. A straight leg jeans, black, of course. I mean, I know it's not original, but I think it'll give you a foundation to build on.
That makes perfect sense.
Okay, shoes. Oh, God, I love the shoes.
Boy, this is really bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring in some black loafers. It's clean and simple.
What about Doc Martens?
Boots and low cuts.
Definitely low cuts.
Good suggestion. I like it. I like that. Okay, moving on to accessories. Maybe a pierced ear.
Stone.
Oh, no, a hoop, like a gold hoop.
Perfect. Statement without making a statement.
Okay, as far as facial hair, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I like it. It may not fit, like maybe sideburns or a mustache going into the ear.
That's kind of hard. Although, you know, that would take care of that weak chin here. You don't have to decide right away.
You're right. You're absolutely right. So, anyway, I guess that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it is nice to meet you, Alan. Great.
What she said?
Yeah. So welcome. You got to be a crazy, crazy.
And now, the one and only
1986 approximately. And I was getting parts on. Occasionally, I'd be in the background, I'd be a guy, this and that. But I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to create the same reason you want to be an engineer and make stuff. So I took this seriously. Oh, really? Yeah, I did. Seriously. And I grew up wanting to be an engineer. I liked airplanes. I worked at Boeing, and Tex Johnson was still around, the guy who did the barrel roll with a 707 before they even had that designation. And I was fond of these guys. The tough fighter pilot, the bomber pilot. And I realized that it's important not only for the actor, the character, to have a tough guy name, but the guy who plays the character has to have a tough guy name, because it's important to me. And so we had Rick Jameson. Now, Pat Cashman read the bit, and he read Rick Jameson. And I went back to him, Pat, this is really important to me. I want Rick Jameson to have 3 syllables. So, it's like Clint Eastwood or Rock Hudson, and the guy's got a tough name. So here we have Captain Flanker, Jeff Dawson. Sorta, roll that tape.
Last week on Flying Low.
Isn't the river beautiful, Jeff?
Sure is, sir.
That's what I love about flying low. See anything yet?
Nothing yet, Captain.
I guess we better go low.
Flying Low. A couple of guys who like to take chances and see the world up close. Flying Low. Starring Jason Riker as Jeff Dawson and Rick Jameson as Captain Flanker. Tonight on Flying Low. Out of the frying pan.
You okay, Jeff?
A little shaken up, sir.
It was a bit of a rough landing.
You know, Captain, I think we were flying a little low that time.
Come on, Jeff, you gotta take chances to see the world up close.
I know, but I'm scared to fly again, sir.
You gotta get right back on the horse that threw you.
Okay, but how are we going to get out of here?
We'll take a chopper.
Oh, of course.
All right, let's go. Everybody's flying again, huh, Jeff?
Sure is, Captain.
See anything yet?
Not yet. I think we're flying too high, sir.
We'll take it down a bit then.
Captain, you smell gas?
Maybe a little bit. You know, Jeff, that makes me kind of nervous. Mind if I smoke?
Yes, Captain.